freaking first cut. Golly.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the First Cut podcast. I'm your host, Patrick McDonald, for the third round recap of the AT&T Byron Nelson. And I'm bringing in the man himself, boots on the ground, the South African stallion, Mark Immelman. How are we doing?
Stallion, there were a bunch of longhorns out here. No, it's all good. We had a really good day, dodged the weather. In fact, I'm looking outside my hotel right now at the Omni Frisco, and there's a pool down there and a pool bar and a beautiful blue sky day. I'm like, it's just what you want out here in Dallas, Texas right now.
It sounds like you, Mark. You find all the hotels with the best bars. You know, the rooftop in Mexico. You got the pool bar in Texas. I mean, you're living the high life.
I live a charmed life, and I get to talk about golf for a living. I mean, God bless America.
Yeah, cannot beat that. And the boys were moving. And we'll kick it off with some of the early movers in the third round there at TPC Sawgrass and at TPC Craig Ranch. And the guy who really got it going early was Patton Kizzire, the general, shooting a 7 under 64 there, led the field in strokes gained tee to green, second off the tee, 7th in approach. And when you think about Patton Kizzire, big hitter, really strong with the irons, capable with the putter, and he really got it going there today.
Yeah, it's sort of more of the same really at this event, because every year you come here and you see the early wave of players. They get out with fresh greens, lighter breezes and stuff. The golf course was certainly a little bit more receptive this morning, so you felt like there was a bit of an advantage for the early players. And then, of course, the guys close to the lead, well, you're playing with that the leaderboard gravity stuff going on. So for Patton, he's sort of been trending. I talked with him a few events ago, and I used to teach him when he was back in college at Auburn. So I know of the young player he was. So I always stop and check in and see how he was doing. And he seemed like he was gaining in stature and some confidence in his game. And he'd gotten the fade shot back off the tee. And if he puts the ball in play off the tee, then he can really make some hay, because I feel like his short game is normally very, very sound. So, you get some softer conditions, you get lighter breezes. Any one of these guys can take it deep if you get something going on. And we saw it today out of Patton, and you're likely to see more of the same tomorrow.
Yep, clean card, 7 birdies. Didn't take advantage of either of the short par 4s there on the front 9 and the back 9. But Kizzire, a proven winner on the PGA Tour. He finished 3rd here when the AT&T Byron Nelson was first moved here a couple years ago. So clearly has a nice comfort level around this place, plays well in the wind as well. And like you said, kind of trending in the right direction. But someone else who's been trending for quite some time, playing like a top 10 player in the world at the moment, one of the favorites coming in, was Sir Tyrrell Hatton, and he had it going today. Despite what he may say, I know you guys had him on the broadcast. He didn't seem too overjoyed about his round today, but what did you see out of Hatton there in Texas?
I'm not surprised. The guy's so accurate. I mean, he's one of I don't think if you have a ball striking conversation, Patrick, and people like throw out names of great strikers, the Tyrrell Hatton will be in there, unless you're really in the weeds on the PGA Tour. But he is that guy. I mean, he's super accurate. He's a wonderful putter. In fact, I don't think there's many weaknesses in his game. And you don't win at Bay Hill at the King's Place unless you complete. And he's proven he can do that. He contended at the Players' Championship, or they contended. Scottie won by a pretty good margin, but Tyrrell was part of the story there too. So he's a big game hunter, and I'm not surprised that every time he plays, he isn't in contention. Last week, in fact, he was a part of the storyline some too. I remember calling him last week, maybe Saturday or Sunday, when he was playing alongside Adam Scott. So he's always there and thereabouts. He's legitimate. He's got all the tools. His manner is fascinating and hilarious, but beneath all of that stuff, there's a golfer with a really high golf IQ. And I say that because it's a key in golf for me to be able to kind of figure out when stuff is not going right. And he has that uncanny skill where you can't teach that stuff. We sort of understands who he is. He understands when he can attack and when he has to defend. And today he showed some of that, because like you said, he admitted that he didn't think he was going to really shoot very well today because his game was up to maggots. But in the end, he shoots 65 and is now part of the storyline for tomorrow.
Yeah, he was a bit flabbergasted that he was somehow bogey-free. Made a couple of nice par saves early in his round to keep the momentum going. But if you look last 3 months, he's 9th in the world in total strokes gained. He's like playing like a top 10 player in the world, like I said. And you said big game hunter, top 5 finishes at Bay Hill, Sawgrass, and Quill Hollow. Those are all major championship type tests. We obviously have a big one next week at the PGA Championship. He's 13 under, 3 off the lead at the moment. So while, he definitely has a chance to win tomorrow, if not, he'll surely be high on many people's list next week there at Oak Hill. And the way he's trending and playing, I wouldn't be surprised if Hatton is in the mix in Rochester. And a name that kind of snuck up on us, at least for me, I was looking at his stats today, and he's actually playing some pretty good golf, is Vincent Normann, the Swede, the big hitting Swede. 5 birdies from number 5 to 11. And I was looking back at his stats. He has 4 top 21 finishes in his last 6 starts, kind of quietly playing some very good golf. What do you think of Normann's performance thus far with that bogey-free 65 on Saturday?
Yeah. First, I'm going to test you as our resident, one of our 2 resident CBS editorial sports guys. Where did Vincent Normann go to college? And don't tell me Florida State.
Vincent Normann went to college.
Don't be Wikipediaing now or Googling or whatever.
The University of Sweden.
Wrong. He went to Georgia Southwestern University in Americus, Georgia.
Ooh.
I know this because for a long time I was a Division II golf coach, and Georgia Southwestern, just down the road from where I was in Columbus, Georgia, at Columbus State University. And when he came over there as a freshman, I watched this kid hit, and I was like, holy smoke. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I used to teach golf out there in Europe, and I've been on the PGA Tour. And it's not often you see a freshman in a Division II level to sort of blow your hair back. And I looked at this kid, and I was like, is this for real? And he just got better and better and better. And then he won prolifically. He was a player of the year, All-American, all sorts sort of thing. And then COVID rolled around, and so they got an extra year. And he went into the transfer portal. And when I was the Arnold Palmer International Team captain, my assistant was Robert Duck from Florida State. And Ducky calls me up the one day and he goes, there's this kid, Vincent Normann. Do you know anything about him? And I was like, Robert, sign him immediately. And he went to Florida State, and John Puck was the number 1 player right then. And in that final year, his 5th year, the statistics will tell you that he was better than John Puck. And now, and John Puck came onto the PGA Tour with much fanfare. And look who's surviving between the 2 of them. This boy is good, and he can go. And he's, I wouldn't say he's fearless, but he's very measured. He is just a really, really sound player, and I'm not surprised he's playing well. I actually believe he should play better. So watch this space, because I feel like once he gets some run time under his belt, his rookie season on the tour right now, when he gets comfortable, like he did when he went through college, coming from a freshman with talent to a dominant player, I feel like, I don't know if he'll be dominant, but he certainly has the skill set and the tools to be able to do so. So don't color me surprised whatsoever. This guy is good.
Okay, we'll give producer Josh a little slap on the wrist. He had Florida State in the outline. I knew you guys might have been in cahoots trying to throw me for a loop or whatever it may be behind my back. But Paul in the chat said Vincent Normann doesn't even have a Wikipedia page yet. That could easily change tomorrow if he somehow finds a way to win. Someone who I know their alma mater, Austin Eckroat, Oklahoma State Cowboy, pretty much in Texas at this point, like they're all the same. Yeah. What around 10 birdies in his 18 holes today, fires a 8 under 63, just that one blemish, the double bogey there on the par 3 7th. And if you look at Austin Eckroat's season thus far, 12 starts, 8 missed cuts, 137th in the FedEx Cup points. He is entering the final round in a share of the lead. His best start so far this year, T12 at the Sony, 5th in Corrales. And there might have been some signs. He actually ranked 21st in strokes gained tee to green last week at Wells Fargo in the designated event. So, with some of the big boys on tour, was able to acquit himself nicely and really just flawless. He said on number 7, it was really a heat check moment for him. Clearly, brick didn't work out for him, makes the double bogey there. But outside that, what a round from Austin Eckroat.
Yeah, I don't know if you were in the thread. I'm sure you might have been, but over Torrey Pines this week, Kyle, as soon as there's an Oklahoma State player in the mix, he gets all giddy-eyed and he starts spouting all sorts of isms. So I went and watched Austin play a little bit, and I took some video of his golf swing, and it's kind of idiosyncratic, I would say. And so I took a swing and I slowed it down and I took a screenshot of him at contact. And I sent it to the group. I'm like, name this player. Crickets. In fact, I still haven't heard anything. Now, I'm going to go regurgitate that thing some and send it back to you guys so you can have a look. Because he's a good player. He's a heck of a player. Plays at Oklahoma State, but he's kind of got a swing of his own. And when he was there, he played under some guys that were, a bit better than him, but he was still very good. And he's found his groove to me a little bit, because playing on the PGA Tour is different. And coming out here with a glittering amateur resume doesn't get you anything, really. It might get you some starts, but then you've got to earn your way because it's meritocratic out here. So he's obviously a good player. It's nice to see him play well today. I'd love to see him follow up that 63 tomorrow when he's right in the mix. I believe he's going to be in the final group, right? And that's where that pressure spigot is just ratcheted wide open. And stuff feels different. Your body feels different. The ball goes different. The hole looks smaller. It's kind of weird. Ball goes farther at times because of adrenaline. So I'm keen to see how he parlays what he's got going on into a good day tomorrow, because if he does, then this could sort of be the starting off point for Austin Eckroat in a big year.
Yeah, potentially a very life-changing day tomorrow for Austin Eckroat. The last group, it is him alongside Marty Doe, a deer, a female deer, and Texan Ryan Palmer. It feels like they avoided the elephant in the room. That is Scottie Scheffler. You would much rather have this comfy pairing with Scheffler out in front of you than having to face the world number 2, arguably the hottest player in the world, right next to you as well. So like I said, he's alongside Marty Doe, a deer, female deer, who also struggling so far this year, 10 starts, 0 top 40 finishes on the PGA Tour, 6 missed cuts, but he does play out of TPC Craig Ranch. It's crazy what a home game can do for these guys. And he's a proven winner 3 times on the Korn Ferry Tour. So I like his chances. He did say to CBS Sports after the round that he's already feeling the nerves. He's already nervous. I kind of like the honesty. He had a great finish there at the end with 4 birdies in his last 6 holes, rattled off 5 straight threes there on the back 9. And so what do you think of his staying power potentially tomorrow?
Well, 2 observations. First, everyone's going to be nervous tomorrow. He's in a final group there with Austin, who hasn't won. He's going to be nervous too. Then Ryan Palmer is in there too. I think Ryan Palmer is the 3rd in the final group, right? He hasn't won in a while. He'll be a little nervous. Even Scottie Scheffler will be a little nervous, and he's a few groups back. So you don't go through their immune. So maybe identifying the fact and speaking to it. Don't speak it to power, but just speak it to say, look, I'm feeling this and I'm ready for it. And then my second observation is that if you're a gambler or you do one and done and stuff, that horses for courses thing, or course knowledge, or course comfortability, or that sort of thing, it's real. And when you get to a place, though, even though it's a home game and that brings its own pressure, when you can fly around a place where you've shot low before, then that lends itself some. And when you know that you've had good shots in certain holes with tough tee shots, and when you've pulled off, good up and downs from difficult places, it brings an element of comfort to it. And that comfort, even though it might be slight tomorrow, is probably a little edge on the folks that are in the same uncomfortable position that you are, and they are nervous. So, I mean, it's a great story. I would love to see him pull it off. It would be a wonderful story. But it's going to be a hard job and a tough slog tomorrow. But look, I mean, all power to him. He's close to the lead. All you got to do is go and shoot something under par tomorrow. Now, I know I'm making it sound trite, but it's the truth. And if he can keep it just down to the dollars and the cents of it as much as he can, then I think he'll be all right. But again, I'm a firm believer in regression, not regression to the mean, but I'm a firm believer in one stroke average. And throughout my college career as a coach, you would always see a player play back to their stroke average. So if your stroke average was 70 and you went out and shot 64, I was sort of expecting you to come back at me with 74 or something to get back closer to your stroke average. Now, I'm not wishing that on Marty Doe because these are PGA Tour players. But after 64, there might be a little evening off. He's just got to hope that evening off turns into 67 or something, and that may be enough for him to notch his first win.
It's always difficult to back up a great round with a good one. I believe the wise Mark Immelman once said that. You can take that quote. But he entered the week 164th in the FedEx Cup points. You think about the kind of tightened playoff system that we have going this year. A win tomorrow, like Eckroat, extremely life-changing for him. But even just a high finish would go a long way for Marty Doe, a deer, female deer. But nipping at these guys' heels, we'll get to Ryan Palmer, who's also in that final threesome at 16 under. But the chasing pack is stout, and it begins with the Aussie, former Byron Nelson winner, Jason Day. He's coming off a miscut there at the Wells Fargo Championship, which I didn't find all too surprising. He took a long break after the Masters and clearly showed some rust, but that rust appears to be off. Very nice round of 5 under 66 today out there at TPC Craig Ranch. A past winner, has played well in Texas throughout his career, has played great this entire calendar year, like Hatton, like a top 10 player, that type of quality. Jason Day, do you think he gets the job done? First win since 2018, around 5 years from now. You think he can do it?
Remind me how far back he is, please.
Jason Day's at 14, 2 back.
Look, it's on. I still think that Jason Day has if he was a meal right now, I would say he's just got to simmer for a little while longer. I mean, it's looking great. It's smell. When you go in the kitchen and you can smell the meal, right? It's everyone around knows. I mean, Jason Day is simmering. He's looking great. He's smelling great. The test is there, but it just needs a little bit more time in the oven, just a little longer. And I feel like, after being in contention tomorrow, maybe pulling it off, who knows? I feel like he's just putting things in place. He's done the physical work of it. He's got the understanding of the golf swing. I've talked to him at length about it. He knows where he's going. He knows how to fix himself. He knows where the bad shot is. He knows what the feels are. I think he's got another chance tomorrow to test the feels under pressure. And then next week, there is a tournament that he has won before. And everyone's kind of going to Oak Hill new. I know we've been there before, but the place has been not redesigned, but reworked in a big way. Like Dottie Pepper, who lives up there, says to me, she goes, you'll hardly recognize the place in spots. So it's not like there'll be an advantage to somebody going there. So it's sort of open season, and maybe that might be where Jason Day sort of, buttons the loop a little bit and gets one done. But right now, it's all going. Greg and I talked about it last night. Even though he had the bad day yesterday, I'm like, if he's a stock, I'm buying, and I'm buying in a big way. And I feel like a win comes. And when that win comes, because he's got the confidence in himself, it'll be Jason Day that we've seen before, because he's stated his intention. Like Marty Doe speaks about the nerves. Jason has said to all and sundry, including me, to my face, he goes, I'm aiming to be back at world's number one. And you got to be pretty convinced in yourself to speak out a goal like that. It's one thing to think it. It's another thing to tell that to people, and he's told that to people. So I'm a believer, and I love where his game is going.
What does Jason Day smell like? What type of meal? Are you like a meat pie, fish and chips?
Think about it. Yeah, when you go in like a nice sort of stew, like a beef stroganoff or something, or when they caramelize onions in something. Yeah, that's what it's smelling good right now.
Stop it, Mark. Stop it. Behave yourself, please.
You go in a bakery, because bread is the food of life, right? Freshly baked bread. There you go.
Okay, fresh bread, Jason Day, the bread man. Calm yourself.
All right, we will clipped on social media right now.
We will get to the rest of the chasing pack, but first, a word from our sponsor.
Witness one of the world's biggest stars as a family man.
Really?
May 17th.
I just jumped into Stallone.
There's no place like Stallone.
It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
He's the last person that wanted to do this show yet. He sees the camera and he's like, am I in frame?
That's the truth.
The Family Stallone, streaming May 17th, exclusively on Paramount+.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and we're going to kick things off with the man himself, Si-Woo Kim, alongside Jason Day there at that 14 under number. Despite the fireworks that the South Korean typically displays on the golf course, a rather mundane day for him. 3 birdies, 15 pars, doesn't take advantage of a couple par 5s there on the front 9, but still very much in with the chance to grab his second victory of the season. Would join Tony Finau, Max Homa, Scottie Scheffler, and Jon Rahm as multiple-time winners on the PGA Tour this season. Mark, you gotta love his chances going into tomorrow.
Yeah, I do. We talked about him last night, and I think I called him and I called Mackenzie use wild cards. But Siwoo is a lightning rod, and he's got an old school game, and he's not afraid of anybody. I mean, this guy doesn't back down. I think I shared the story of me calling him playing Justin Thomas in the President's Cup, and he was fist bumping in JT's face. And JT is one to get up in your face some. And Siwoo would turn around when he'd bury a putt and kind of bow to the crowds and tell them to shush and stuff. So he's up for it. And I love the way he plays. And that finish of his, because the final stretch of holes was playing into a kind of a gusty, variable sort of a breeze, to finish 3-3, 4-3, 4. That was stout. That kept him relevant. So I feel like he's probably feeling pretty solid about himself right now. And then all of his success on the tour. Now, all is a big word, so I'm going to modify that. A lot of his success on tour has been on golf courses with this type of grass. He's won the Wyndham Championship at Sedgefield. It's all Bermuda throughout. He's won the PGA Championship where you got those champion Bermuda greens, and you got some Bermuda rough here, and you got the bent grass greens. So it seems to me like there's a style of golf course he really thrives on, and it's this style of a golf course. So maybe he's going to need something really good tomorrow, but maybe he can pull it off.
He will. He'll probably need to take advantage of those par 5s, a few more birdies, but we know Siwoo Kim's capable. Sony first hole chip in there at the Sony Open to clip Hayden Buckley earlier in January. Loves the heat of the moment, like Mark said, when he was shushing JT, telling those stuck-up Americans at Quail Hollow to shut up. You gotta love it from Siwoo Kim. And he is someone who I personally have my eye on tomorrow with a little investment, I must say.
All right.
But we will get to the group that you follow today, the final group, the final threesome. And it was a little slow from the start. And a couple players somewhat recovered, but one who did not was Mackenzie Hughes. Ended up shooting a 2 over 73. Really got, 3 early bogeys, battled back nicely around the turn, and then kind of got loose. Had a 2-way miss going. Just really couldn't find his swing. Didn't look comfortable out there much of the day. Describe Mackenzie's round today, as someone who saw it firsthand.
I would say it was surprising because it wasn't emblematic of the Mackenzie Hughes I know, who's typically very reliable from tee to green. He's got a golf swing that's simple. There's not a whole lot of excessive moving parts. The arms are always out to his side. He kind of hits the ball really squarely, and his misses aren't big. But there was 1 or 2 driver tee shots where he was very late on these things, and they sort of were weakened to the right. He got away with some, but you felt he was struggling with a golf swing the whole day long. And it's not that it looked like it was way off, but it just looked like it was final group sort of stuff. And he got uncomfortable, and then he sort of rebounded some, but then you get a few crosswinds, and you feel a little awkward, like coming down the stretch, and then it trips you up, like down 16 for argument's sake, where he'd hit a few tee balls to the right. In fact, the last tee ball up, number 12, 13, he blew one to the right, made 4, good 4. Then 14, the short par 4, he blew it to the right. Then 16, he hit one sort of recovery, really, like a reactive sort of a flick over with a club face, and turned it left onto the edge of a bunker and made bogey. And then 18, he blocked one to the right again. So he was clearly fighting his golf swing. And then the bad news is that when you're in a place like that and you're in contention, or even when you're playing poorly, you have to be able to make saves. And he sort of seemed like he was battling to read the greens as well. So it was one of those days. But you know what? You don't stumble your way into the final group. So I'm sure he'll iron stuff out pretty quickly and come back tomorrow, because you don't fake it. You don't get in the final group faking. So it was just a bit off. I think it was the pressure of the final group, and perhaps he bounces back with a good day tomorrow.
Yep, he'll definitely need one. He finds himself 5 strokes back now at 11 under, lost more than, nearly 4.5 strokes to the field with today's round. Really just all around a poor performance. And that whole final group that you had, I don't know if it was you, Mark. I don't know what was going on, if you guys gave these guys some bad mojo or whatever it may have been, but they all got off to a pretty slow start. Ryan Palmer saw him, take the lead at one point when Scottie Scheffler made a couple early bogeys. He had a nice par save there from long distance on the par 4 third, adds a couple birdies, trades a bogey for birdie on the inward half on the outward half, and then finishes very, very strong, like you said, with that tricky wind coming down the stretch, 4 straight threes, and then a birdie 4. Easily could have been another 3, was right on the edge there on 18 to take the solo lead. But Ryan Palmer, the native Texan, will look for his 5th career victory on the PGA Tour tomorrow in the final round with a couple young guns. What do we think of Ryan Palmer headed into tomorrow?
Well, my last call on him, full swing call, was I said that it seemed like it was a round of sort of 3 segments where he started off okay, and then it got a bit scrappy through the middle, and then he finished with a flourish. And I got to tell you, the finish that he turned on was super impressive, because right before then, his tee shot down 10 was kind of a flipped hook. He got away with it and actually made a bogey, forgive me, but he wasn't in the fairway bunker. And then there were 1 or 2 tee shots that weren't so sharp going up the hill. And then coming down the hill, he fashions this 3-wood onto the front of the green that, it's like driving the thing into your bathroom. It's so narrow there in the front. And he hits in the green, makes 3. And from then on, it's like someone just, they flipped the switch on him. And coming in, he absolutely flushed it coming down the stretch. He had 2 shots into 16 that were glorious. These things were falling out of heaven. And then on 18, he hits a good drive, sort of gusty breezes, and he's got 5-wood. And last year at this event, well, I'll take a step back. I had Justin Thomas in the final round, and he hit a 5-wood shot into the 12th. It was still a par 5 that I saw this, and I was like, holy heck. And it was the shot that made me pick him in one and done the following week. And I said to folks, I'm like, I don't want to be reactive and overdo this, but I'm like, I saw him make a swing and hit a shot that is like, this kid's ready. Lo and behold, he wins the following week, and I have him in one and done. And Ryan Palmer hits his 5-wood into 18 that I was like, yes. And I walk up, he comes walking past me, and he saunters past me, and there's a wait for Scottie, and he looks over at me, and I'm like, nice shot, man. And he goes, yeah, that was kind of good. And he goes, I just wanted to try and sling it in there. And I'm like, sling it in there. That thing flew like a homesick angel. And he was like, yeah, it was good. And then he goes and he 2-putts the last, nearly makes it. And you could just see that he hit the shot in difficult circumstances into the wind, water short of the green, and he pulled it off. And you could see he went to like a different place, confidence-wise and mentally. And so I feel like I sort of like his chances tomorrow, even though he does have Scottie Scheffler in behind him pretty close.
What I took from that was, if he is to win tomorrow, I'm not, well-versed in contract law, but verbal agreement on air in front of people, you have to take him one and done next week at Oak Hill. I believe that's what you just said pretty much.
I've already made my selection for next week.
All right. For all we know, you just mentioned him. It could be this man, Scottie Scheffler, after rounds of 64, 64, an even par 71 for the tournament favorite. Got off to a really rocky start there with a couple bogeys in his first 4 holes, has 3 birdies, finds himself back into a share of the lead. And then you kind of see some of the putting woes creep in a little bit. He had a great chance on that par 4 12th from roughly 6 feet that he missed. Missed a couple more coming in. Made a nice one on 17 to save par, but the second shot, leaving it at his feet on 18 in the fairway bunker, where he had a chance, if he made birdie, to finish at 16 under in a share of the lead. Instead, he finds himself 2 strokes back. Still the tournament favorite at our friends at Caesar Sportsbook at around 3-1. But Scheffler, if he wants to win his 7th tournament in his last 31 starts, will have to do it from 2 strokes off the pace.
As far as I'm concerned, anyone can throw statistics out of the window on this one, and I'll tell you why. To be a tournament winner or a good golfer on the tour, you have to have 2 things: long drives and a short memory. And Scottie has both. And the guy's got a wonderful ability to just forget and just move on. And also not own bad stuff. Because as a good golfer at this level, it's so easy to take ownership of good and bad. And one of the great lessons I learned as a young player, and then I passed it on as an instructor to elite players, is that, if you're going to own your good shots, you need to, if you're going to own your bad shots, forgive me, then you must own your good shots too. Now, what most golfers do is they own their bad shots, and then when they hit good shots, they're like, nah, whatever. I was sort of expecting to do that. Where Scottie doesn't own his bad shots. There was only one today where I could see he could sort of let out some emotion, maybe two, but otherwise it's like right back and hit the next one, and right back and hit the next one. And for Scottie, that hiccup down the final 9 holes today, I don't even think he's phased about it right now. I think he's back home with Meredith. He's probably had a shower. He wouldn't even have practiced afterwards, I guarantee you. He was back home, probably having a little dinner, get some rest, and then just go and play tomorrow, because golf for these sorts of guys, it's like a marathon, and they know it's 72 holes, sometimes more. And so he's like, man, there's still another 18 left. I ran a bad lap in this last 9 holes. I'm going to be okay. I still have the leaders in touch. I still know my game is sound. He's hitting it super. He did pull 1 or 2 shots coming in, but I think that was sort of the nature of the day where, there was nothing really going on. There was no mojo with that final group. So I think this is water under the bridge. I think he's okay tomorrow. I'm sure he puts up something that look, truth is you're going to have to stay in front of Scottie Scheffler if you want to win. And I'm still high on him.
I know you said throw statistics out the window, but let me throw one at you.
Right, go.
Over the last year, from a strokes gain perspective, that was his 4th worst round. Last round of the Open, last round of the Tour Championship, and then the 3rd round at the CJ Cup. So even par 71, if that's, as bad as it's going to get for Scottie Scheffler out there, you would think, given his past year, you got to like his chances tomorrow.
Well, I'm going to call you out right now, like I do with my buddy Kyle. I'm like, cool, so you tossed me a strokes gain number. So what does that mean? Is that a good thing that it was his 4th worst, or a bad thing? And
I think it's
tomorrow.
I think it's a great thing, considering he lost, roughly 2.5 strokes to the field average today, and he's only 2 strokes off the pace. I'd be terrified of him tomorrow.
I would look into, if I was you, because, I looked at some numbers before the round today, and I shared them with Ian Baker-Finch, our analyst, and I said to him, I'm like, Scottie is leading the PGA Tour in par 4 scoring, 3.91. I'm like, he's 4th on par 5 scoring. It was like 4.49 or something. On par 3 scoring, he's like 5th on tour. Okay. So like to me, par 4 and par 5 scoring are crucial around this place. And so I'm like, if he just plays to average, he's got 67 kind of cobbled together anyway. And then Frank Nobilo looks over at me and he goes, hey, here's a number for you. He goes, in terms of bounce back, making a birdie after a bogey, he was in the top few as well. And I'm like, there you are now. So I'm going to go Scottie Scheffler. And that speaks to how you forget stuff, because you make a mistake and you're right back in the saddle kind of deal. So if you want to share a statistic with your readers or your fans on Twitter or whatever, I'd look at bounce back and say, this guy can prove it on a golf course 1 hole later. You give him some time to rest and get over things and come back tomorrow on a fresh day, he's fine. He's going to be absolutely fine.
Well, Mark, I'm flattered that you think I have fans. I really appreciate it. But one final note before we get to the betting segment. Scottie Scheffler will be going for his 7th victory in his last 31 starts. Off the top of my head, that equates to a win percentage of 22.58%. Tiger Woods from 1996 to 2019, winning percentage of 22.84%. So Scott has got, a little work to do to catch the cat. But Josh, let's pull up these odds from our friends at Caesar Sportsbook.
You can't just crop dust us with something like that. That's terrible. Don't take off to Tiger Woods. Scottie is in the process of putting together his career. Stop looking for context. There's no context. It's golf, for Pete's sake. I mean, we didn't know what the weather was going to do. Tomorrow it might be different. And by the way, did you get the text?
Yes, I did. But Mark, 0.3%. The numbers do not lie. 0.3%. Got to look at the numbers. All right. I'll give you a trivia question about Scottie Scheffler Scottie Scheffler after this segment. But let's look at the odds by Caesar Sportsbooks. Scottie Scheffler, the favorite, despite being 2 strokes behind, at +280. Ryan Palmer 4-1. Austin Eckroat 7-1. Marty, Doa, Deer, female Deer, also at 7-1. And then you look at the chasing pack. Jason Day at 7-1, Siwoo Kim, 11. And let's stop at Sir Tyrrell Hatton at 12. Mark, who do you like to win the AT&T Byron Nelson and don the cowboy hat?
I said this last night. I'm like, if I'm a bettor, I'm hoping Scottie has a bad day today, so his number goes up, because I think last night it was 250, and so now it's gone to 280. I'll double down on that. I feel like Scottie gets it done. Austin, he's still new. Ryan Palmer, I like him. I really like what he's doing, but Scottie is an immovable force. Jason Day, I like him too. And the rest of the guys, it's a lot of sledding, that thing, because like if Scheffler, for argument's sake, what is he, 14 right now, right?
Yeah, 14, 2 back.
Yeah, so he moves that thing to 18 or 19, which is likely. That's going to take folks to kind of get busy a little bit. So I like Scheffler right now.
I agree. I think it's going to be Scheffler who enters the winner's circle by day's end. But I'll ask you this question. Scottie Scheffler wins tomorrow. Is it him or Jon Rahm who is the favorite heading into next week?
Can I go co-favorites?
It's a cop-out answer. I'll lose like a shred of respect for you, but technically you could.
I think it always, I mean, you should know, especially in this era in which we live, there's like a recency bias, right? And a tyranny of the urgent. And I think the recency bias will make Scottie, the favorite because he's coming off a win. But look, they've both had fantastic seasons. Jon Rahm is the world's #1 player, and he's got the Masters victory. So he should be the favorite, but maybe there's a little recency that kind of moves Scottie slightly above him, but I don't know. And that's why I just talk about stuff and opine. I don't make lines.
Exactly. Yeah. The key is to kind of, cover all bases so you can clip it and just have the clip saying you were correct in the end. But Mark, here's the trivia question I have for you. Since 1960, there have been 5 players to win the week before on the PGA Tour, the week before they win a major. So, like if Scottie Scheffler was to win this week and then win the PGA Championship, he'd become number 6. Can you name the 5?
I know Phil Mickelson won the Bell South before the Masters.
Correct.
Rory won Firestone before the PGA. Was it the
Correct.
Open?
Correct.
Okay.
PGA.
I'm sure Tiger's done it somewhere, so I'll go Tiger Woods.
Correct. You got
He's probably done
two older timers.
Oh, golly. Well, let me go with Jack and Tom Watson.
No. One was before an Open. One was before the Masters. This gentleman competed in his final Masters this year.
Larry Mize?
Sandy Lyle?
So, I forgot about why I'm so close to Larry. I was thinking because it was Larry's. Yeah, Sandy Lyle.
Yeah. Sandy Lyle. And the last one, Lee Trevino.
I was thinking about that, but you know why I picked Watson? Because he's got more major championships, so I figured I had better odds.
Yeah. Can't blame you there. I just got that nugget from the CBS Sports research team this morning. So shout out to them. And Mark, you got anything else out on the grounds? I don't want to leave you, you got that pool bar to go to.
No. I want you to tell me, I want you to look at that swing I texted you. I want our producer, Josh, to put that up. A snapshot at impact.
Oh, brother.
Not one of our crew could identify who that guy was.
Huh? That is clearly Austin Eckroat.
Yeah, right.
Clearly. Like I could see that swing in my sleep.
Yeah.
But I think that'll do it for your third round recap of the AT&T Byron Nelson for Mark Immelman. You can find him at Mark_Immelman there on Twitter. And you can find him on your TV tomorrow, giving us all the good nuggets out there on the grounds of TPC Craig Ranch. I'm Patrick McDonald. You can find me at Amateur Status. Thank you to producer Josh on the 1s and 2s. Have a good night.